right, so I'm looking at an article from IGN. Fallout 76 now has a 100-a-year subscription service called Fallout First. And essentially, Fallout 76, a game that I enjoy and no one else on this podcast really does.
Or Planet. I'm just kidding.
Fallout, a game that we've talked about many controversies from. I haven't seen any feedback to this yet, but I imagine that there's going to be some backlash to this story.
Oh, you're talking at large?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I just today is a heavy work day. I saw this article. I read this article. I haven't seen any commentary on this article, but I can't imagine this going over well.
It's not. We'll just put it that way.
All right, like a lead balloon. So Fallout's having some more Fallout, but Fallout 76 has revealed a new subscription service, Fallout First, which allows players to play alone in private worlds, among other things. So this service, you can either pay $12.99 a month or $99.99 a year in US dollars. And that membership will get you private worlds for yourself and up to 7 friends, a scrap box with unlimited storage for crafting materials, a survival tent that acts as a placeable fast travel point, 1,650 atoms a month for the game's shop, and an exclusive Ranger armor outfit and unique icons and emotes. So where to start? First off, let's just I'm just going to kind of break down the things that it offers. Private worlds, that's something a lot of people have asked for. They want to be able to play the game solo, or they want to be able to play the game without the risk of people they don't want involved. They just want them and their friends. So that's a desire that people have. You've got all this extra stuff for the cosmetic stuff. You get 1,650 atoms a month. That's a pretty big deal. Exclusive armor, exclusive emotes and icons, like all of that stuff. Like, I'm okay with all of that in a subscription service of some sort. Whatever. None of that's game changing. The private worlds, like, you may have an issue with that, but even Minecraft, like you have to pay to have like never mind.
Yeah, you do. You have to pay for your persistent world.
But this isn't persistent. This only functions as long as the person is online.
See, that changes the whole conversation then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I started to make that point and then realized that it is not the same thing. But the thing that really bothers me is having a scrap box with unlimited storage for crafting materials. That dances on the line of pay to win, in terms of, it's a big deal to be able to just have as much of that stuff as you want without needing to worry about it.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Educate me here a little, Larry. The scrap box is not something that only exists for you in your private world. This is something that carries into the main game.
I'm pretty sure. I don't see any indication that it's only in the private world. And the survival tent that acts as a placeable fast travel point. That's a pretty big deal too, because you have to spend caps to travel to specific locations. And so those are two things that will actually affect the gameplay itself. And that bothers me. So that's essentially what this offers. Some stuff that makes sense, some stuff that I don't think makes sense. And then once you move from that into the price point, $99.99 for a year or $12.99 a month, that is freaking steep, my dudes. So why? That's my question. What is the thought here? What's your reaction to this? And can you help me understand why Bethesda thinks this is a move that makes sense? Because I'm not seeing it.
I think Fallout is currently having to supplement other projects for Bethesda. Mm-hmm. I think commercially, the latest releases from Bethesda have been underwhelming. You know, when we're talking Wolfenstein, the last couple of Wolfensteins, we're talking when we're talking Rage 2. I think they're having to find a way to use Fallout to replenish the war chest that helps them to make those other games. And so this is the way that they're attempting to do that. Now, whether that's going to be an effective way of doing it is another story entirely. But I think that they must see that they have an engaged player base that they can continue to tap into.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think like $12 is steep, especially in a world that's like been dominated by pretty advantageous subscription services. You know, when we're talking Xbox games, Xbox Game Pass, when we're talking Apple Arcade, we're talking, you know, Ubisoft's Uplay Plus, like subscription services where you're paying less than this or around this same price for far more content at a much higher quality than Fallout 76. I don't see how the numbers line up to where going into that boardroom, somebody was like, yeah, this sounds like a really financially viable option.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, I agree totally. I think this is a way to kind of recoup a lot of the cost of a game and a series of games that have proved less than quote unquote successful in their eyes. Tapping into an engaged player base is probably a mild way to put it. Capitalizing on an engaged player base might be a better way to say it. I think, I mean, obviously there's still a section of the Fallout player base that is super invested in this game. It's small, and I think they're hoping that segment of the player base will be able to buoy the rest of it. Jason Schreier astutely pointed out that for Game Pass, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, is $15.99 a month if you get the package deal, and $9.99 if you just take the normal one.
Yeah, and so the $15.99 includes Xbox, PC, and Xbox Live Gold.
So you're getting services across two platforms. You're getting connectivity and you're getting a bunch of games. But the point Schreier made was that on Game Pass, you can currently pay less or pay more and get more value. But you can get Fallout New Vegas and come Friday, get the Outer Worlds, which is essentially Fallout in space. So I think most people are going to focus on the price here, but I think just the value for that price, at least me as someone who's outside of playing the game, does not seem significant enough. Granted, I guess if you've sunk as much time as some of these people have into Fallout, you're willing to shell out that money, which in which case, fine. Which is what they're banking on.
Yeah, that's the aim. And Optic Nerve says player base is also a stretch, which is true. I mean, I'm sure there's still an engaged player base, but that engaged player base are the ones that are going to be willing to spend money.
They're playing to their base.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that Optic Nerve comment as well, because the point he's making is right, that the base is not large, but the base of Fallout is super dedicated to that game. Like, those people are passionate. I still love just hopping on and reading the crazy stories of the shenanigans that folks get up to in that world. But I still I'm still going to be surprised if even that dedicated player base is going to be pumped for this service at this price point. And I may be wrong. They may have internal metrics that are showing, oh man, the people that are still here are willing to shell out. It may be nothing but whales left in that game. But I don't know. This just feels like, I know it's shocking, Bethesda making a poor step with Fallout 76, but I feel like that may be what's happening here.
Well, and here's my concern is that the things they announced that were going to be in this service are things that it looks like people among the fan base have been asking for, and then talking about expanding on these features in the future. If this is just going to become the place where they dump in things that would otherwise, like in regular games, would just be added as within patches, like, hey, our patches are going to make sure the game's stable, but for all additional features we're adding to Fallout 76, you're going to have to be a member in order to take advantage of those. And that would be my concern.
Yeah, I do question the decision to take features that people have been clamoring for, especially the private worlds. I know people were asking for that even before the game came out.
Because people wanted to, what's the word? They wanted to role play.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think taking that and shutting it behind a paywall is kind of unfortunate. I just think the move to switch revenue models like halfway through the game is odd.
Yeah.
Like I guess you could liken it to if World of Warcraft was a $60 title at launch and then transitioned to being a subscription model. Your understanding of the game is one, and your investment in it is one thing, and then you have to radically shift that if you want to continue to engage in it at the level you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Elder Scrolls Online started off as you pay for the game and you had to pay for a subscription service, but they did wind up dropping that subscription fee, did they not?
And pretty quickly as well.
Yeah. So like that demonstrates that at least back then this was not a sustainable model. And I'm pretty sure their subscription fee was significantly lower than this. And that was for the whole game. This is for a few key features, which, as you pointed out, Cody, may become even more key here in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. That game's got to be. That game's, it's just had an uphill fight from launch, and they've done so much to turn it around that I was really disappointed to see this.
Optic Nerve says, I could be wrong here, but didn't GTA 5 give you the option to play in a private world like from launch? I'm not sure exactly when private worlds were added. There's an article from 2015 about how to create private sessions, which I think is probably around when GTA Online launched. So if it wasn't right at launch, it was likely near launch. And it seems to be a totally free feature as well.
I think that GTA 5 came out in 2013.
Well, the GTA 5 came out in 2013, but remember,
and then online came out
took
like a year later.
It took forever.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember when it came out. But yeah, the point being that they added the feature in. But I think it's a totally different monetization model as well, shark cards. It's also a totally different size of the player base. And the idea is if we give private worlds, they're likely going to spend more money on these microtransactions. So I think the financials kind of work kind of differently there, but I get the comparison. And I think, like, not even comparing the value in what's being offered here at $100 for a year, not even comparing it to Xbox Game Pass or any of these additional services, I still just don't see the value in the package itself.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just because I'm not a Fallout player, but, the private worlds makes up what I would think would be like 85% of the value in this. The inventory thing, another 5%, and then everything else, the other 10% probably.
Yeah. It's, as someone who loves Fallout, the unlimited scrap storage, like that's really important to me. The private worlds, like that's neat. It's not something that appeals to me, but I understand why people want it. But the rest of it, like atoms and exclusive cosmetics, like, I've been on this in other games as well. Just give me the option to buy what I want outright. And so I do not see the value on its own, not even comparatively, like you're saying.
Who's had the bigger fall from grace in terms of goodwill from fans? And this is going to sound like a meme of a question, but I mean it quite seriously. Is it Bethesda with the Fallout franchise, or has it been BioWare from Mass Effect Andromeda to Anthem?
I feel like whether it's fair or not, I think that BioWare is kind of a little off the hook for Anthem. I think a lot of people put the blame elsewhere on that. But I think Bethesda's had the bigger fall from grace because of the mess that was Fallout, but also just the meme of Skyrim on this, Skyrim on that, Skyrim, and I don't know. Like you said, Wolfenstein. That's kind of that was not as successful as they wanted to be, and it looked like a great game. But outside of Wolfenstein, like what's Bethesda done that was really great in recent years? I don't know.
Wolfenstein 2. That was the last one. That was in 2017.
Yeah.
I think BioWare's it's definitely been a decline. But I feel like, there were with Anthem, there were a lot of factors at play there, as we learned. But if you want to call it a fall from grace, I feel like theirs was more steady, like from Andromeda to Anthem. And then granted, people are still really excited for Dragon Age, which they announced, and they'll be showing off more of. So people are still psyched about their stuff. But I feel like the fall was so precipitous for Bethesda.
Yeah, bottom fell out pretty
Yeah,
instantly.
it was just so. It was magnetic to watch in a way, but
and it was one punch after the other.
Yeah.
Just like one
Just a bunch of
fiasco
bad
after
moves.
another.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think the interesting thing with BioWare's situation, I know this topic is about BioWare, but is that it happened so slowly, but then it's one of those like you look behind you and you see what was kind of left in its wake, but you didn't notice it while you were walking. In that you saw Andromeda, you saw Anthem, and now we're looking back and we're like, well, is BioWare even who they were during the like height of Mass Effect, during Dragon Age Inquisition? Like, what of that studio is even left to be working on these games? Because some key people have left BioWare in those years as well, and so I think there's concern about their ability to get it back. Whereas with Bethesda, it seems like a total cultural shift in the way that they approach these mega franchises of theirs, and has me worried about the ways that they're going to continue to try to take advantage of the fan bases of, Elder Scrolls when Elder Scrolls 6 comes, whenever the next, mainline Fallout game is set to release. Like, are they learning the question to me was, are they learning valuable lessons in these missteps? And this subscription service tells me they haven't.
Yeah. I got a little optimistic, at E3. We had our predictions, and like none of us really expected Todd Howard to come out and have any humility. And then he did, and I was like, well, maybe we're hitting a turning point. But then we turn around and do this, and I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with a lot of the Fallout issues. Like the game had some issues at launch, and that would be one thing, like bugs and kind of sort of new territory for them. But that wasn't the brunt of the complaints. The brunt of the complaints were predatory behaviors and overpromising and under-delivering, just taking advantage of a base of fans that were really passionate about your company and your products. And for me personally, I love Bethesda. I've played a lot of their games over the years. But everything moving forward for a long time, I'm going to approach with some apprehension. I won't be picking anything up at launch from them for a long time.
And it also surfaced a lot of consistent issues with Bethesda games to begin with as well, that people often overlook because of the good things about them as a studio. Talking about like the performance of their games, the shittiness of their engine. So
good thing there's a new Fallout game coming out on Friday. It's called The Outer World.
People are loving it. Lots of high praise.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Anything else on that, Larry?
That's all I got.
Hey, how much real world money does 1,600 atoms translate to? Is that $16?
I'll look that up real fast
because I'm curious. I know it's not $16. It can't be. You're gonna pay $12 for $16 worth of. At that point, I guess it is. It is worth it. Probably like $3.
Yeah. Let's see. So for 1,000 atoms plus 100 bonus, you spend $10. So it actually is about $1 for 100 atoms.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, maybe that may change my perception a little bit of it, but I think the audacity of asking somebody to subscribe to your game for new features, regardless of that, I don't think it changes a lot.